Welcome back to Cool Books Quick. Today we've got another great one for you. The classic novella of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Let's do it. George, Milton, and Lennie Small, two displaced migrant workers, travel through California's Great Depression-era farmland, seeking jobs on ranches to earn enough money to buy their own piece of land. George is small and quick-witted, while Lennie is a physically powerful man with the mind of a child. Their relationship is unconventional. George looks after Lennie, who struggles with understanding social cues, remembering instructions, and controlling his own strength. Despite the burdens of this responsibility, George remains loyal, bound by a deep, almost familial bond. The novel begins with the two men arriving near a riverbank outside of Soledad, California. As they prepare to start work at a new ranch the following day, George reminds Lennie to avoid trouble, warning him not to speak too much to the other workers. Lennie, in his simplicity, dreams of tending rabbits on the farm they hope to one day own, a vision George often recites to comfort him. Lennie loves soft things, but his strength often leads to unintended consequences, something that has already caused trouble for them in the past. In their previous job, Lennie was accused of assault for grabbing a woman's dress, forcing them to flee town in fear of mob justice. George recalls how he once took advantage of Lennie's trust, playing cruel tricks on him before realizing the depth of his responsibility. Their past hardships reinforce their reliance on one another, setting the stage for their shared dream of independence. At the ranch, they meet Candy, an old swamper with a missing hand, who offers to contribute his savings to their dream in exchange for a place on their future farm. Their hopes seem within reach, and for the first time, the possibility of stability and independence appears real. However, their aspirations are threatened by Curly, the boss's aggressive and jealous son, who immediately dislikes Lennie. Curly is a small man with the Napoleonic complex, resentful of those physically superior to him. His insecurity manifests in an eagerness to pick fights, particularly with those who cannot or will not fight back. Curly's wife, a lonely woman who remains unnamed throughout the novel, also poses a risk. She flirts with the men, seeking attention to combat her isolation, despite her unhappy marriage to Curly. She is depicted as both manipulative and pitiable, a woman who had once dreamed of becoming a movie star, but ended up trapped in a loveless existence. The other men view her as a threat, fearing the troubles she could bring if Curly suspected anything improper. Lennie's interactions with Curly's wife foreshadow his tragic fate. Meanwhile, the men find brief companionship in Crooks, the black stable hand who is isolated due to racism. Crooks momentarily entertains the dream of joining George, Lennie, and Candy on their farm, but his cynicism leads him to withdraw, recognizing the unlikelihood of such a dream becoming reality. His experiences with discrimination have left him hardened, yet he still longs for connection, illustrating how deeply isolation affects the human spirit. Trouble escalates when Curly, eager to prove his dominance, picks a fight with Lennie. Lennie, acting on instinct, crushes Curly's hand, demonstrating his immense strength. Though George manages to defuse the situation, he knows that Lennie is once again walking a dangerous line. George warns Lennie to stay away from Curly's wife, but Lennie, unable to grasp the full implications of his actions, continues to be drawn to soft things. The climax comes when Lennie accidentally kills Curly's wife in the barn. As she confides in him about her loneliness, she lets Lennie touch her hair, but when he grips too tightly, she panics. In his fear, Lennie unintentionally snaps her neck. Knowing that Curly will seek revenge, George realizes that Lennie has no escape. The realization that their shared dream will never come true weighs heavily on George. As the other men form a mob to hunt Lennie down, George makes a devastating decision. George finds Lennie hiding at their predetermined meeting spot near the river. Instead of letting the angry mob take him, George tells Lennie about their dream one last time, soothing him with visions of the farm they will never have. He ensures that Lennie dies in a state of hope, free from fear and pain. Then, with a trembling hand, he shoots Lennie in the back of the head, sparing him a more violent fate. The novel closes with George alone, his dream shattered, as he walks away with the other men, numb to what just has occurred. Slim, the only character who understands the gravity of George's actions, offers quiet consolation, acknowledging the impossible position George was in. Of Mice and Men is a meditation on loneliness, dreams, and the harsh realities of life during the Great Depression. Steinbeck explores the fragile nature of hope in a world that is often indifferent to human suffering. The American dream is central to the novel. George, Lennie, and Candy all long for a better life, but their dream is ultimately unattainable, highlighting the economic and social struggles of the era. Steinbeck presents the dream as a rare glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak existence, only to show how easily it can be destroyed. The relationship between George and Lennie is the heart of the novel, portraying themes of friendship and sacrifice. George's care for Lennie is both an act of love and a heavy burden, emphasizing the human need for companionship despite the hardships it may bring. Lennie's innocence contrasts with the cruelty of the world around him, making his fate all the more tragic. His childlike wonder and simplicity stand in stark contrast to the harsh reality of their circumstances, making it clear that he was never meant to survive in such an unforgiving world. Curly's wife, Crooks, and Candy also embody different aspects of isolation. Curly's wife, though dismissed as flirtatious and troublesome, is ultimately a victim of her circumstances, trapped in an unhappy marriage and desperate for connection. Crooks, subjected to racial discrimination, is painfully aware of his own solitude. Candy, aware of his aging body and declining usefulness, clings to the dream of the farm as his last hope for dignity. Steinbeck carefully crafts these characters to highlight the many ways society marginalizes individuals, leaving them to fend for themselves in a world that values strength over kindness. George's final act of mercy, killing Lennie, mirrors Candy's earlier regret about not ending his old dog's life himself. The parallel underscores the theme of responsibility in the weight of difficult choices. Steinbeck forces the reader to consider whether mercy and pragmatism can coexist, and whether the world allows for true compassion. George's choice is not just about saving Lennie from Curly's wrath, but also about preserving his dignity. The novel's ending, with George walking away alone, suggests that survival often comes at the cost of deep emotional loss. George is left without his companion, his dream in ruins, a poignant commentary on how the pursuit of happiness is often met with insurmountable obstacles. The only consolation he receives is Slim's quiet understanding, reinforcing that in a world as unforgiving as theirs, a small act of kindness carries immense weight. Steinbeck's writing captures the bleakness of the time, yet within that bleakness, there is a deep humanity. Of Mice and Men remains a powerful critique of a society that often fails to accommodate the most vulnerable, forcing people to choose between cruelty and compassion in a world where dreams seldom come true. The novel lingers in the reader's mind as a reminder of the fragile nature of hope and the painful choices that define human existence. Well, that does it for today's installment of Cool Books Quick. Please like and subscribe so I can keep the channel going, and comment below with suggestions of books you would like to hear done quick. Thanks.